Let's get it! 580 Sports Talk on an AFC Championship Game Red Friday for a seventh consecutive year. The Kansas City Chiefs one win away from going where no one in their situation has ever gone before. The Chiefs trying to become the first team to win two consecutive Super Bowls and then get back to a third the next year, pursuing the first three-peat in the Super Bowl era. And we've got plenty to say about the Chiefs and the Bills in Sunday night's AFC Championship game on today's edition of 580 Sports Talk on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And we are in living color, streaming our video live on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. And we are streaming on Facebook at WIBW News. I am Dan Lucero. Brendan Dworzinski is in with me right now. Spencer Dupuis will be along in a bit. And we are with you for the next 2 hours on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. 2 and not 3 today, because at 5 we are breaking away for coverage of day 2 of the 64th Topeka Invitational Tournament. A triple header for you, as is our custom on a Friday night at the TIT. Our first game will be scheduled to tip at 5 o'clock. Consolation action between Topeka High and Lawrence. And then we will have both of the semifinals on the winners bracket side. Highland Park taking on Lawrence at 6:30, followed by Topeka West facing off against Olathe East at 8. I'll be on the call with the coach, Larry Latimer. Hope you'll join us throughout the night for basketball from the Topeka Invitational Tournament at the Dungeon at Topeka High School. Then, of course, at 10 o'clock tonight, the Kansas High School Basketball Scoreboard Show. So a night full of hoops here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. But first things first, 2 hours of 580 Sports Talk, and much of it devoted to Sunday's AFC Championship game, the 7th annual Arrowhead Invitational. The Chiefs and the Bills meeting for the 4th time in this 7-year stretch in the playoffs. The Chiefs are 3-0 straight up, 3-0 against the spread in these games against the Bills. Josh Allen has never beaten Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. Will this time be the charm, the 4th time for the Bills? And will they finally break through and return to a Super Bowl for the first time since the 1993 season? Or will it be the Chiefs, again, doing something that no team in their shoes has ever accomplished? Only 3 other teams in the history of the league have won back-to-back Super Bowls and gotten to a conference championship game. The 76 Steelers, without their 2 star running backs, Franco Harris and Rocky Bleier, due to injury, lost to the Raiders. The 1990 49ers, with a late fumble by Roger Craig and a late injury suffered by Joe Montana, fell in the conference championship game against the Giants. And the 1994 Cowboys could not overcome 3 first-quarter turnovers in a loss to the eventual champion 49ers. No team has ever won 2 straight and gone to a 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. The Chiefs are trying to do what was previously undoable. We will preview it. We've got our keys to the game. We got our big Chief picks and our predictions. And, of course, we'll talk to Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, our Chiefs insider. He'll join us at the bottom of this hour. We'll get Matt's perspective on what to expect from Sunday night's game. Again, it is a 5:30 kickoff from Arrowhead Stadium. Our coverage here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 comes to us from Westwood One on Sunday. That is an NFL broadcast rule. That is an agreement that the NFL has entered in with Westwood One, that they are the exclusive broadcaster of Championship Sunday outside of the flagship stations of the radio network. We are not the flagship station of the Chiefs. That, of course, is out in Kansas City. That station may carry the Chiefs broadcast. We must carry, as an affiliate station, the Westwood One broadcast. So that is what we will do. We will carry both games on Sunday. The NFC Championship game to start the day, the Washington Commanders at the Philadelphia Eagles. Following that game, the coverage will go to the AFC title game. And you will hear the Bills and the Chiefs with Kevin Harlan, a former voice of the Chiefs, on the call. Devin McCourty providing the color analysis. Once the game concludes and the Lamar Hunt Trophy has been handed out, we will then bring you Chiefs Radio Network post-game coverage along the network. We are permitted to do that. And as I said yesterday, Hopefully, it's a party and not a funeral. But we will bring you Chiefs Radio Network post-game running late into the night on Sunday.
More like a funeral for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, it could be one of those funerals. I'd be fine with that, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the spirit of Red Friday. That's what I'm looking for. So you can tune in for the game right here on your home of the Chiefs in Topeka, 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We'll also get to the rest of the sports weekend. A couple of home games for the Sunflower State's Big 12 entries on Saturday, both night games. Big one for KU as Houston comes calling. K-State trying to get right, snap that 6-game skid as West Virginia comes to Bramlage Coliseum. Also, of course, Sunday's NFC Championship game features the Eagles against Spencer Dupuis' beloved Commanders. I'm sure he'll have plenty to say as he hopes to see his team reach a Super Bowl for the first time in his life. So Chiefs fans out there, you can relate to the bubbling cauldron of emotion that Spencer must be going through this week as he prepares to watch his team in a conference championship game for the first time in his life. That's coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. So, too, some sports headlines. Another coaching vacancy is full, and I don't know that there's ever been an NFL division with a better collection of head coaches than the AFC West. Pete Carroll is the new bench boss in Las Vegas. To say that I am conflicted would be underselling it. But, man, Pete Carroll can coach. 18 seasons as the head coach, only 4 losing seasons. That's a slam dunk hire by the Raiders.
I think it's a good hire, too. Good culture fit. They need someone who has the blend of motivational ability and actual football acumen. I think, in theory, Antonio Pierce had the former, although if you read some of the in-depth reporting into the Raiders locker room and then you find out the head coach didn't even show up on time for meetings, that motivational part doesn't really factor in either. Nope. Pete Carroll is very motivational. Players, for the most part, love him, and he actually knows what he's doing.
Yes.
I think it's a great hire, honestly. Now, he needs a quarterback. Every team does, yes. But no one is going to find success if they're going to try to run Minshew and O'Connell back out there.
Yeah, that's certainly not going to work. We'll see what kind of maneuvering the Raiders do to try and find their signal caller.
Congrats to Darrell Bevel, by the way, because he's totally getting hired again.
Probably.
What's he up to these days?
Great question.
Darrell Bevel is the passing game coordinator and QB coach for the Miami Dolphins.
Oh. Biding time until his entry to hell for calling that passing play at the 1-yard line, Super Bowl 49. That's not very nice. I'm sorry. Also, Pete Carroll's older than Bill Belichick.
He will be, this season, the oldest coach to ever coach a game. He will pass Romeo Crennel's record.
That's wild.
Yeah. Romeo Crennel was over 73.
The average age of the head coaches in the AFC West next season is 65.
Wow.
But it's a very accomplished group of coaches in the AFC West with the hiring of Pete Carroll. The guys will have some thoughts on that. Obviously, I'm going to head out after the 3 o'clock hour to go do the Peak Invitational Tournament basketball, but Brendan and Spencer will carry you through the 4 o'clock hour. Previous sports weekend, crown a weekly champion on what is wrong with you, bring you some headlines as well. You are, as always, invited and encouraged to be a part of the discussion today here on 580 Sports Talk. You can text the program. Text line is wide open, 785-272-9429. That is the number, 785-272-9429. Also, if you are watching the live video stream on YouTube this afternoon, whether that's on your web browser or your mobile device, there is a live chat feature, and you can comment in the live chat, interact with your hosts and your fellow listeners throughout the day today. Again, our YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. We are up another couple of subscribers, which is very cool to see. Again, the new target number is 800. If that happens, Brendan and I will arm wrestle on camera.
For real. We are going to do that.
Yes.
By the way, you prompted me to look this up. Jim Harbaugh is 6 days older than Sean Payton.
Wow.
December 23rd and December 29th of 1963.
I don't know that Jim Harbaugh is going into Canton. I don't know that he has coached long enough or successfully enough at the NFL level to feel like, oh, that's a future Hall of Fame coach. But he's definitely going to the College Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And the other 3 coaches in the AFC West are going to Canton. Reed, obviously, duh. Sean Payton won a Super Bowl. That's in New Orleans. So that's happening. And, I think Pete Carroll's going to end up there, too.
Hey, look, if Pete Carroll wants to go to the Hall of Fame, I'll buy a ticket with him. Although I feel the same way about Sean Payton.
And
George Seifert's not in. He's got 2.
Yeah, but George Seifert was cleaning up after what Bill Walsh built. Like that's like saying Barry Switzer's got a ring, so he should be in. Like, not every coach who won a Super Bowl necessarily is going to the Hall of Fame, but it's the consistent track record of success. And for Peyton and for Carroll, it's about they won in places that had never won and won at a level that that franchise had never won at before.
Would you put Coughlin in? Or Coughlin?
Tom Coughlin?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
All right.
If his quarterback is going in, Tom Coughlin ought to go in. But, like, there's a log jam for coaches.
Yeah, Holmgren still isn't in.
Yeah, Mike Holmgren, who took 2 different franchises to Super Bowls, which I believe he was the first coach to ever do that. Or at least.
I think you're correct.
Yeah, I think that's right. That he is still having to wait, and Mike Shanahan is still waiting. Like,
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a log jam for sure. So
it might just be a while.
Yeah, it could.
Although for Pete, if it's going to happen, I hope they do it quickly.
Listen, I think Pete Carroll is going to live into his 140s. Like, I think that he is just made of different stuff. I think he's going to live and coach and win forever. I think he believes it, and I think he will will himself to do it.
And I hope that's true. I like Pete Carroll.
I do too.
Good personality.
I'm glad to have him in the AFC West. Anyway, we'll get there a little bit later on, but we do want to start with our Chiefs keys to the game. As we do on every Red Friday edition of the program, we look ahead to the matchup, the Chiefs and the Bills. Again, this is the 4th playoff meeting between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. There was the 2020 AFC Championship game, the 2021 divisional round game, the 13 seconds game, and last year in the divisional round where the Chiefs went to Buffalo and knocked off the Bills. Come into this one with the Chiefs a 2-point favorite. The total actually jumped this morning. It was at 47.5 for most of yesterday from our friends at Prairie Band Sportsbook in Mayetta. It had jumped up today, and it is continuing to go up. In fact, it is up a full point from where it was yesterday. The total now 48.5. Perhaps some of that is due to a significant defensive absence confirmed for the Bills. Taylor Rapp ruled out for Sunday with his hip injury. That is a big absence in the Bills secondary. He played well in week 11, and his presence in some too high safety looks really had Mahomes having trouble. Mahomes did not play well in that game. Taylor Rapp's absence means rookie Cole Bishop, a second-round pick this past year, will step in and play that position. There's also some doubt over Christian Benford's availability. That's a big deal, too. Standout corner for the Bills. He is questionable coming off of a concussion. Most signs are, I guess I should say, that he's going to play, but he does have a injury designation for Sunday. That is not the case for a single Kansas City Chief. There is no injury designation for any of the Chiefs. All hands on deck. Everybody's good to roll for the Chiefs going into this AFC Championship game. Let's get into those keys to the game. First one for me, this is the one that stood out from the first meeting between the Chiefs and the Bills back in the regular season. The Chiefs have to get off the field on third down. The Bills were 9 for 15 on third down against the Chiefs in their first meeting. That included 5 conversions on either 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9. Those are the downs where you have to get off the field. And the Chiefs could not in Orchard Park back in week 11. There were a couple of those conversions that were due to penalties. You had a defensive holding call on Felix Anudike-Uzomah that moved the chains on a 3rd and 8. You also had a pass interference on Shamari Connor that moved the chains on a 3rd and long as well. Why couldn't the Chiefs get stops on those third downs? They weren't very good rushing the passer. We talked a lot coming out of that game. Sometimes it's instructive to go back and look at old show notes or listen to old episodes of the show about a game and kind of prepare yourself a little bit for the rematch. One of the big talking points we had coming out of Bills-Chiefs round 1 this year is that the Chiefs could not get pressure on Josh Allen and could not bring him down. I would expect that to be different this time around. Number one, because Steve Spagnuolo's got some stuff left in the bag that he's going to deploy against the Bills that they haven't seen and didn't see in week 11. And number two, I firmly believe Charles Omenihu is in line to have a significant impact in this game. Mitch Holtis sold me on that yesterday when he talked to Spencer here on the program. They had Charles Omenihu on the Defending the Kingdom podcast. Omenihu got hurt in last year's AFC title game.
Yes, he did.
He has been waiting for this one. I think he's going to get some good matchups on the interior. I think you're going to see Charles Omenihu really disruptive on some third downs. That's going to give the Chiefs a chance to get off the field in those spots.
So I have a similar thought to you, but I actually am approaching it from a different degree. I think it's actually going to be more important for Omenihu and Karlaftis to contain as opposed to getting upfield. Heard this earlier today. Josh Allen, his career against Steve Spagnuolo specifically, although I guess Spags has been with the Chiefs almost every year of Allen's career. He actually gets sacked at a lower rate against the Chiefs than he does against any other team in the NFL, which is weird, right? Like, that's strange. You know what else he does more often? More designed runs. They get him outside, and he takes off on his own on scrambles more often than he does against almost any other team, certainly higher than his per game rate over the course of his career. So to me, if Allen is more focused on getting outside and either trying to create outside the pocket or running, I think contain is going to be huge, which still puts a lot on both Karlaftis and Omenihu to keep him from getting out to the edge. You don't want Josh Allen turning the corner. That's really the one thing. You do not want him to get the edge, because then you've got a wildebeest running downfield with the football. That's not a positive thing. Now, if you can sack him and change that trend, changes everything, obviously. But just based on former trends, if those two are able to keep him like waiting in the pocket, that's a win for the Chiefs. Absolutely a win for the Chiefs defense.
What's your first key to Sunday's game?
First one for me, this is going to sound a little bit odd, but if I'm the Chiefs defense, I'm selling out on the run. I know, like, Josh Allen, like, did you see the quarterback back there? I heard a phrase from Mina Kimes of ESPN, listening to her weekend preview podcast yesterday, where she referred to the Bills as target agnostic, which I think is a great phrase. They don't have they don't have Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams. They don't have a guy like that. Neither of their tight ends, we talked about a bunch yesterday, are a Kelsey or a Kittle or a Laporta or anything like that. They will spread it around. Amari Cooper might get 8 targets in this game. He might get 0. Like, there is no steady must get it to this guy kind of weapon, which is good to a degree for an offense, but also in tough situations can become difficult. I think it puts the Chiefs in a position, especially with Jalen Watson back now. I'm letting those guys go play one-on-one, to be honest with you. And if you get beat by crossers and some stuff over the middle, you charge to the game at that point. I'm willing to put Trent McDuffie on an island against Khalil Shakir. I'm willing to let Jalen Watson get some one-on-one matchups on vertical stuff with Amari Cooper. I know Cooper's a good player and has had a really good career. I'm willing to take those chances because I don't want to get gashed by the run. Let me pose a couple questions to you. Number one, do the Chiefs have a good run defense?
You know, it's interesting that you asked me this, because this was a question that we posed on the Tuesday edition, I think, of the show this week.
Let me be more specific with it. Since week 10, do the Chiefs have a good run defense?
They have not. The numbers have said that they have not.
22nd in the NFL in EPA, 15th in success rate, which is the down-to-down measure, which, I mean, is fine. You can win at league average, but only 22 at EPA. So if you're right in the middle of the pack in terms of down-to-down, but you're way down in the rankings, almost bottom 10 in terms of the EPA, that tells me that some of those runs you're making some stops. You're getting stuffs, but when you do allow a run, they're a big run. They're getting chunks. I don't want that to happen with a guy like James Cook or Ray Davis or some of these guys for the Bills who can run it and can get big chunks. That's just against running backs, by the way. So I'm selling out to stop the run. Linebackers, you've got to be great. I'll take my chances with McDuffie and Watson. Do not beat me up the middle.
I think it was actually the Wednesday show where I talked about this and mentioned that the big thing that the Chiefs can do, 2 things that will help them against the run in this game relative to against the Bills, when actually were really good. They played the running game really well against the Bills. It was basically just the one long Josh Allen run, but they held the running backs under 3 yards a carry. Jalen Watson being back helps them in run support, and the ability to play more base defense, again, with Watson back and with the 6 offensive lineman fronts that the Bills like to run. That's going to get the base defense on the field more. Any team's better against the run and base. The Chiefs get Leo Chanel out on the field in base, and that helps their run defense a lot. My second key for Sunday, Chiefs have to be better in the red zone. This is not going to be a game, I think, where you can kick field goals in the red zone. I don't want to see a field goal inside of 35 yards from Harrison Butker in this game, unless it's like to make it a 2-score game with a minute to play. I expect that Sean McDermott is going to coach this game extremely aggressively. This is their now or never kind of chance to beat the Chiefs. They're tired of being the bridesmaids. I cannot imagine that they'd come into this with any sense of conservatism coaching. I think they're going to be aggressive. I think they're going to go for a lot of plus territory fourth downs. I think they're going to go for fourth downs in the red zone. The Chiefs have to match that because you do not want to bring field goals to a touchdown party. And I think the Bills have the ability, certainly in short yardage fourth down situations with the running threat of Allen, an opportunity to keep the chains moving and turn this game to a touchdown party. So the Chiefs had better bring their touchdowns. That means being a lot better in the red zone, a lot crisper than they were last week against Houston.
I picked the low-hanging fruit for my second key. You got to play a clean game. You cannot commit turnovers. I don't necessarily know that the better team in terms of, again, down-to-down, play-to-play last week, I don't know that was the Bills. In fact, I don't necessarily think it was. Because outside of the turnovers, Baltimore moved the ball really, really well. They kind of tore up Buffalo. And again, Buffalo's defense has not been very good down the stretch this season. They've made some big plays and big moments, but they haven't exactly been great. Got to avoid the turnovers. And the Chiefs have been great at that. You heard the phrase today from Nate Tice of Yahoo Sports, brutally efficient, like almost Sean Payton, late stage Drew Brees Saints, that we're going to throw for 6 yards on every play. We might not get any yak. We're just going to get first downs. We're going to march right down the field and we're going to get first downs and we're going to run from 4 to 6 yards every time we hand it off. And you just won't be able to stop us. Do you know how many explosive runs the Chiefs had last week against the Texans? 10 or more yards on the ground.
I think there were 3 of them that I can remember off the top of my head. Mahomes had 1, and then Hunt had 2 on that last drive that set up the field goal.
Those are the only 3 they had all game. That tied their season high.
Right.
They have not had a single game this year where they've run 4 or more times for 10 yards on the ground. They just don't do it. The deep ball, it's not really a part of this offense, save for maybe 1 or 2 shots a game at this point. It's just been efficiency. So I think this plays into the Chiefs really well. Buffalo will take advantage if you give them an extra possession. Their offense looks awesome right now. Don't give them that extra possession, and I honestly feel pretty good about that for this Chiefs team.
They were plus 26 in the turnover margin, counting their first 2 playoff games as well. The Bills, plus 26. They thrive on making fewer mistakes. But the Chiefs have been to 4 Super Bowls and been to 7 straight AFC Championship games because they make fewer mistakes. Mm-hmm. And it's weird to say that a game with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen at quarterback is going to come down to who makes less mistakes, because we think of those quarterbacks, especially when they came to the league, as gamblers, risk takers, gunslingers, however you want to say it. That's not how they play. That's not how their teams play. This will be a game where I think some of the game theory stuff will be really aggressive, but I think some of the play calling might be a little more risk averse. And the team that makes fewer mistakes, as is usually the case, probably going to win on Sunday. We'll give you our predictions and our big Chief picks coming up after this timeout. But first, a quick word from my friends at Great Life in Topeka. It's a new year. It's a new you. And New Year Fitness is happening at the Great Life Fitness Centers across Topeka. There's one near you if you live in the capital city. Go to greatlifetopeka.com to find out where they are, what amenities each facility has that you can take advantage of to meet your fitness goals. And if you refer a friend to be a Great Life member, you and that friend can save up to 32% on your membership. That's happening right now. greatlifetopeka.com. Back after this on 580 Sports Talk. Couple of thoughts from our listeners. First from the text line, 785-272-9429. From the 785, hope the Chiefs put a spy on Josh Allen. I think Leo Chanel, when he's on the field, is going to play a role like that. Like, I don't know if it's going to be a strict spy, but I do think that he may linger close to the line of scrimmage. And he's going to be...
I believe Mitch alluded to that last night.
I put it this way. I think he'll be the most important defender. Spencer Dupuis here, by the way.
Sorry.
The most important defender. No, you're fine. I wasn't saying.
No, my mic. I started to move my mic, and you could hear it falling down as I was speaking.
You could hear that. I think he'll be the most important defender in the running game. I guess I would put it that way for the Chiefs, Chanel. Also from the Gilliland family commenting on the YouTube live chat, agree with avoiding turnovers. Chiefs been very good late season and postseason. That almost undersells it. They haven't turned it over since the last time they played the Bills. 0 turnovers. And the Bills don't turn it over a whole lot either. So this could be one of those games where it is. It's just staring each other down at the middle of the field and daring the other to blink first. And whoever blinks first loses.
I think this is let me start this over real quick. You know how you like to use the phrase, Dan, ethical hooping?
Yes, ethical hoops.
Well, how would you describe that in a sentence?
No grifting, no flopping, no tricks. Just the game as it was meant to be played.
The game as it was meant to be played. I believe that is what we are going to get with Chiefs Bills this weekend. I honestly do believe that. I think this is not going to be your speed. We're not going to be, have this game trodden upon by these newfangled tricks. I don't want trick plays. I don't like trick plays. That just tells me that you can't beat me with your own 2 hands, your own 2 feet. You have to resort to trickery. I don't appreciate things like that. This is going to be efficiency. This is going to be 2 quarterbacks who are going to leave it all out there, running games that are going to be pounded into the ground. This is ethical football, ethical graps, if you will, if we were in the wrestling mat or on the wrestling mat right now. I'm expecting that from this game. I think we're going to see a ton of runs. Like, I don't know if either quarterback's going to throw the ball more than 22 times.
Weird to think that either team would take the ball out of the hands of their quarterback. The Bills have been more willing to do that than the Chiefs. And that might be the difference. Honestly, that it's been the difference so many times in Chiefs playoff games that their guy makes one more play than the other guy.
Yep.
And it may well come down to that. According to Prairie Band Sportsbook in Marietta, the Chiefs are 2-point favorites. The total is up to 48.5. I think the Chiefs are going to win and go back to the Super Bowl for a 3rd consecutive year. I've got the Chiefs covering as well. 27-20 Chiefs. I think the defense gets a stop late to secure the victory. Xavier Worthy is my big Chief. He got a lot of targets the first time these two teams played, and that was without the threat of Hollywood Brown on the field. The middle of the field, very, very open to the Chiefs, to any team playing against the Bills defense. It works in the middle.
So with that, 48.5, you said? The total?
48.5 the total.
So you're telling me the implied score is something in the neighborhood of about 25, 23, something like that?
Yeah.
No, I don't think we're going to get anywhere close to those points. I'm going 20-17 Chiefs. You cannot pick against the Chiefs in this spot. Like, I understand all the reasons why the Bills could win. I think, in theory, they have a very good chance to win. But I cannot pick against the Chiefs in this spot, against this team in this moment. And I'm going, by the way, with my big Chief. I'm going Nick Bolton. There's been a lot of chatter about Nick Bolton's game, and a lot of it agrees with me from the wider NFL marketplace, which unfortunately means not a lot of people are saying nice things about Nick Bolton right now. He's got to be great. This is less so I think he'll be great, more so I think he has to be great.
Spencer, what's your pick?
Yeah, I got the Chiefs winning this one 24-17. I got the Bills scoring 17 just as Brendan does, but I think Chiefs are, in my head, a touchdown better. I've got Chris Jones as my big Chief pick. Couple sacks for him, maybe a strip sack. He can do it all. Go in the middle, come off the edge, and I love that he's able to do that.
He's a big game player, and last year he really only made one play in that divisional round game at Buffalo. He caved in the pocket on Deion Dawkins. He forced Josh Allen to short arm a post that would have been a touchdown on a 3rd down play. On the 4th down play, Tyler Bass missed the field goal, and the Chiefs held on to win. It's always when the Chiefs need it, Chris Jones, who makes the big play. We'll step aside for a timeout. We'll come back and get Mac Derrick's thoughts. Our Chiefs insider joins us on 580 Sports Talk. We're off to Kansas City to talk to Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider. He covers the Chiefs at ChiefsDigest.com. You can find him on social media at Matt Derrick. He joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline every Friday here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, 7 consecutive AFC Championship games. We'll get into this matchup in a bit, but what an accomplishment. Like, I think it's okay to kind of take a bit of a 1,000-foot view of this one a little bit and say that the Chiefs getting here and continuing to get to this milepost season after season, no matter whatever happens, is truly one of the more remarkable feats, I think, in NFL history.
It is pretty amazing when you consider that all but one of them were at Arrowhead. I think that adds to the just a tremendous accomplishment at all that they've been, if it haven't had the 1 seed, they've still dodged all the potential upsets and made it all the way. So, I mean, win or lose, it's been an incredible run. That's for sure.
We've asked others this question. I want to ask you this question. What makes the playoff Chiefs different than the regular season Chiefs?
I wish I could put my finger on it, but I mean, there's an intensity for sure that you just don't see. I mean, this team's intense week to week. I mean, you can see it on everybody's faces. I mean, there's never a moment when you're looking at Mahomes in a game and don't think that he's giving it his all. There might be times that you see Travis Kelce showing his age. Maybe you're dragging a little bit. There might be some other guys too that you see him huffing and puffing. You just don't see that in the postseason. I mean, they just all seem to have that adrenaline that kicks in, and and I'm not saying that there's been necessarily just any drafting genius that they seem to get these guys, but because I don't think it's just something that's natural. I mean, hey, I'll stand over a $5 putt on the golf course and I'll shank it easily. These guys have a lot more than that riding on it, and they just don't seem to shrink. I mean, they have so many guys that just seem to rise to the occasion with their intensity level in big moments. And I wish I could put my finger on exactly what it was. That's about the best word right now I can come up with that I see. It's just there's a laser focus with so many of the players on this team that once they get into the big spotlight, it's just they feel like that moment's made for them.
Does it feel different energy-wise around the team right now? Because they had the great regular season. They dealt with all of the doubt throughout the regular season while they were ripping off 15 regular season wins, the most in franchise break, the long rest, and they were able to get right for Houston. Obviously, what they're chasing is unprecedented in NFL history. Does the energy feel different? Does this team maybe feel different going into this AFC title game than they have going into other games?
Yeah, I mean, and I've been over at the stadium most of the week, so I haven't had a chance to get over to the locker room as much. So I've been over in the stadium, and I feel like that. I mean, it's the same kind of routine that we've seen in the past years with the players that are coming in, and I don't get the sense that anybody's on edge. There's nothing like that. But once again, it's the focus, it's the intensity that kind of changes, and you saw it last week. I mean, the locker room is, usually, I mean, it is one of the social areas for the team. It's not like that they can't go up and socialize in the lunchroom, but, actually a lot of times their cafeteria upstairs, it's shared with employees. So a lot of players during their lunch break will just bring their food down to the locker room and hang out. And maybe they may hang out in the weight room where we're not allowed. But, when they're in the locker room, it's pretty routine to just, see some guys, hey, on their phones talking to somebody, or maybe they're just chit-chatting about college football. There might be a card game in another area. Maybe they're playing video games in another spot. But, last week, you could tell. I mean, there were none of what I would call the shenanigans going on. I mean, it seemed like everywhere you went, every locker, anybody who was in the locker room, they had like their iPads out and were, watching game film or going over things. I mean, they might have been talking ball, but there wasn't the usual normal chit chat or anything like that. It just seemed like everything was laser focused on the game. And I think that's just the professionalism of this team. I mean, it's a job. I mean, they have fun playing it for sure, but there's no doubt. I mean, they do treat it like a job, and the bigger the job that's in front of them, it seems like just the more focused and more intense they get.
Matt Derrick is joining us here on 580 Sports Talk for our Chiefs Insider via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. You can find Matt across your social media platforms at Matt Derrick is his handle everywhere you are currently logged in. You can also find his work at ChiefsDigest.com. Matt, I think this Chiefs defensive line has a chance to really make waves in this game, especially on the interior. We had some stats earlier this week that Buffalo's interior three guard, center guard have all been below average in pass blocking sets this year. Does this feel like it might finally be a chance for the Chiefs to sack Josh Allen or at least cause some extra pressure? Because he actually has not been sacked all that many times by the Chiefs in his career.
No, he has not. I mean, they've never really gotten to him. And, and part of that is, you get the regular season game plan against Josh Allen, and then you get the playoff game plan against Josh Allen. And, and part of the playoff game plan against Josh Allen is that it's more important to maintain your role, maintain your gap integrity, maintain your assignment than it is to get to Josh Allen, because they all know how difficult that is. That even if you get to Josh Allen, you might not get him down on the ground because he's just that tough to tackle and tough to bring down. But what you can do is just hem him in, make sure that he can't beat you with his feet. And, part of that, I mean, Josh isn't necessarily a big scramble to the outside like maybe Mahomes is, maybe Lamar is, and making plays that way. I mean, he's much more of a step up, and if he doesn't throw, then run through the tackles and try and find some ground there. And that's where, you go back to week 11, that's when the Chiefs kind of struggled a little bit. I mean, I think that they, over pursued on the edges a little bit. They probably didn't maintain the gap integrity up the middle as much. And that gives Josh Allen those lanes. And now you're like, okay, need a spy there. Well, you don't necessarily need to spy Josh Allen if your gap sound up front. And the Chiefs during the regular season, they usually get I think a little bit of goofy in there. I mean, they get a little bit loosey-goosey. In the playoffs, I think they do a much better job of, just trying to make sure that they're keeping him in the pocket, keeping him from scrambling, getting arms up, trying to get in his passing lanes. And, for a quarterback who's hard to tackle, hard to bring down, I mean, that's about the best you can do is just get pressure on him. And it's not even necessarily about turning pressures into sacks. It's just about you using pressures to turn throws into incompletions, turn them into interceptions if you can. I mean, that's, he's almost impossible to bring down. So if you can't bring him down, try to find other ways to beat him.
I am a little bit worried about the Chiefs' defense against this rushing attack of the Bills, and not just Josh Allen, although he's obviously a major, fearsome part of that running game. But ever since the midway point of the season, the advanced metrics not very kind to the Chiefs' running game defensively. How nervous should I be about the Chiefs trying to slow down James Cook and Ray Davis and also Josh Allen?
I don't know, because I mean they didn't have a fantastic game against the Chiefs back in week 11. I mean and I know Chris Jones is well aware of how many yards that the Bills have put up in the last two games against them, because I guess Steve Spagnuolo was letting them know how much that they've run for them. But a lot of those yards were Josh Allen yards, and those are, to me, they're different than James Cook yards, and they're different from the other guys' yards. So, I mean, I think that the Chiefs, just with the way that they play run defense, I think that they can handle it. To me, I think that the scarier thing about the Bills and their running backs is what happens when they leak out of the backfield. What happens when you're throwing the football to them? I remember, I think it was James Cook's first game against the Chiefs. He just absolutely roasted them on a wheel route. And I think they learned from that. But that's one area where the Chiefs have been really susceptible this year, has been to, when running backs are leaking out into the flat and when a play breaks down and having guys just absolutely wide open in the flat. And you can't have those breakdowns, and because Josh Allen will absolutely find them. And these guys are good enough that once they get the ball in their hands, they can make plays. So, it really comes back to a lot of just, if you're going to beat the Buffalo Bills, you've got to play sound defense, and you really just have to play, I think, patient defense and wait for them to make a mistake and take advantage of it.
We're joined by Matt Derrick here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirit hotlines. And Matt, we talk all the time. It's the Chiefs. They have no off season because they play to the Super Bowl so much. and it seems like mid-season they're always have some guys hurt, but now they're probably the healthiest when it comes to core guys on this team that they've been, minus Rashee Rice. It seems like everybody else that you had anticipated to be on the roster is active and healthy. How did the Chiefs do that? It seems in the biggest spots, they have all their guys 99% healthy.
Yeah, it is really remarkable. And I mean, and part of it was, I think that they just kind of, with the injuries that they had, they approached each and every single one of them as far as, okay, what needs to be done to make sure that this player is healthy by the postseason. They were not worried about making sure that this player is ready by week 10 or week 12, nothing like that. It was all simply, how can you help this player get ready by the playoffs? And they weren't worried about anything else. I mean, there were obviously some early reports like Isaiah Pacheco that maybe he was only going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. It took 11 for him to be back, and I think that was just part of, once again, going back to, we don't need to rush anybody back. What the Chiefs, what they need was just to make sure that everybody got the rehab that they needed, when they came back, they were ready to play. There wasn't really necessarily anything easing them into it, that they were 100%. And if that meant that they took maybe a week or 2, 3 weeks longer than you would expect, that's not a problem. And obviously they've got a training staff that the players, connect with and like. I mean, today, when Charles Minihue was asked about, why was he able to come back as quickly as he has been and play as well as he did, he gave credit to Stephanie Morton, the athletic trainer that he's been working with. So, I mean, I think that that's been one really common thread that I heard with every single injury this year for the Chiefs. It was never, how quickly can we get this player back? It was always, what can we do to make sure that this player is ready by January?
All right, Matt, we got about 15 seconds here. Do the Chiefs win, and why or why not?
I mean, I think the Chiefs do win because they've got the better head coach and the better quarterback, and that's what usually matters in the postseason. I assume that the Chiefs won't cover because they never do. So 27-26 Chiefs.
Another Harrison Butker field goal, perhaps, being the difference. Matt Derrick covers it for ChiefsDigest.com. He's our Chiefs insider here on 580 Sports Talk and joins us every Friday on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Matt, always a pleasure. Enjoy the Arrowhead Invitational on Sunday.
There you go. I appreciate it, guys. Take care.
That is Matt Derrick. We'll step aside for a timeout, come back, wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk. Real quick, changed my mind to wrap up this 3 o'clock hour on a Friday of 580 Sports Talk. Changed my mind. There aren't actually 3 better shortstops in baseball than Bobby Witt Jr.
No, I will not change your mind. I don't know that there is.
Yeah, I can't change your mind.
The
Are there 2 better?
MLB Network's top 10 right now ranked Bobby Witt Jr. the 4th best shortstop in baseball behind Corey Seager, Francisco Lindor, and at number 1, Gunnar Henderson. And listen.
Wrong,
Joke.
maybe, and absolutely not.
Lindor's going to the Hall of Fame. Like, I get it. Seager probably on a Hall of Fame track, too, if he can stay healthy. Like, nice player. Gunnar Henderson, get all the way out of my face with that.
Yeah.
If you ask 30 general managers which shortstop they'd rather have right now for the future, 30 out of 30 are taking Bobby Witt. Maybe 29 out of 30 if the Orioles GM likes his guy. Mike Ely likes his guy enough.
Probably.
So,
Absolute
this
nonsense.
was MLB Network.
Yes. The Shredder.
If I may momentarily, and we only have a moment here, get on my Media Wars soapbox. MLB Network is a terrible TV channel. It's not like bad. It's awful. I remember like they will air movies over breaking news and not break into the movies. Like I don't need to see Fever Pitch. Let me know that the COVID season is actually beginning in a month. Like what the hell is this? They employed Brian Kenny in 2025.
I think Brian Kenny's fine. I have a bigger problem with Chris Russo. Please get Chris Russo off my television.
Also bad. The worst, in fact.
Yes.
I'm not missing anything. I got YouTube TV. Ain't missing nothing.
Yeah, I do not think that's a good channel.
One more hour of the show before coverage of the Topeka Invitational Tournament. I'm headed over to the dungeon to get set up for that. So Brendan and Spencer have you the rest of the way, previewing the rest of the sports weekend. I leave you with a hearty Go Chiefs on this Red Friday. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk coming up next.
go. Final hour of 580 Sports Talk on a feel-good football Friday afternoon. It is Red Friday. It is AFC Championship Game Friday. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Spencer Dupuis is alongside. Dan Lucero is on his way to the dungeon at Topeka High School as we get ready for day 2 of the TIT, the 64th annual Topeka Invitational Tournament. 3 games, back to back to back, all featuring schools from the capital city. Our coverage begins at 5 o'clock. So join Dan and the coach, Larry Latimer, for TIT coverage here on 580 WIBW. What a treat to get to bring you the best high school basketball tournament in the state for the rest of the evening tonight. So we are out of here at 5 o'clock today. We've got a busy hour for you up until then. Big thanks to Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com joining us last hour to break down the AFC title game. We'll get to the NFC game here in just a matter of moments. Plus, we will look ahead to the basketball weekend. Both KU and K-State are in action. K-State at home against a ranked West Virginia team is favored. KU, meanwhile, is taking on Houston. That is a major game. Top 15 battle at Allen Fieldhouse coming up tomorrow. Bill Self had some, I don't want to say fighting words, but had some strong thoughts about the crowd. And I'm going to tell you something. He's right, but it's not all the students' fault. We're going to get to that coming up a little bit later on here in this 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. We'll get to those 2 college basketball games. We've got What Is Wrong With You to get to here in just a few minutes as well, about 20 or so minutes from right now. We will also get you some 580 Sports Talk headlines coming up at the bottom of the hour. Some final headlines from around the sports world. NFL coaching news today. A couple of pieces of coaching news, in fact, around the NFL. So we'll get to that all coming up in this 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. We want you to be a part of the show. You can do so on our text line, 785-272-9429. That is the text line number. And you can find us on YouTube as well. We are video streaming the show today and every single day. Head to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk, just like the name of the program itself. Subscribe to the channel while you're there, and then hang out with us in the video feed today. Thanks to everyone who's watching along on the video and listening along as well on 580 AM, 104.9 FM, or around the world at 580WIBW.com.
I keep breaking my New Year's resolution.
To actually read the YouTube comments?
Yes, I just got caught up as we were coming back from break. So I replied to our guy Clayton from like 50 minutes ago.
Hey, look, sometimes you just gotta better late than never.
Exactly
is what I like to say. Always better late than never. All right, why don't we just start with the NFL here? We'll get to KU and K-State in a moment. Let's start with the NFL. We are all on the Chiefs to win the AFC Championship game. I said it when I made my pick at 20-17. I just don't know how you can justify picking against the Chiefs in this spot. AFC Championship game. I know that the Bills are really good. You could argue fairly credibly that right now the Bills are a better team than the Chiefs, but you can't just factor in the on-paper stuff or even the film of the last couple of weeks because the Chiefs win in this spot more than anybody else. Narratives are just that. Narratives, they're storylines. They're not the be-all, end-all, but they do sort of apply here. And that's why I am not going to pick against the Chiefs. I've done it before. I am not going to do it here in this spot against a team that they have dominated when the stakes are at their highest. So I'm going with the Chiefs. Spencer the same. Dan the same as well. In the NFC, Spencer's Washington Commanders decked out in Commanders gear today, as I would expect, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Third matchup between these two teams this year. Eagles won the first battle on a Thursday night earlier in the season. The Commanders then won in, was it week 17? Second to last game of the year?
Yeah.
Second to last game of the year. Jalen Hurts got hurt early in the game. Kenny Pickett came in, was bad because Kenny Pickett is just not a good NFL player. Commanders mount a crazy comeback in the waning moments. They pick up a win right there. Another feather in the cap of Jaden Daniels. And now, after the Commanders blew out the Lions last week, I mean, they took it to the best team from the regular season in the NFC. The Eagles have now won a snow game over the Rams. They beat up on a Packers team that was running on fumes entering the playoffs to make it to the NFC title game. It will be at the Link in Philadelphia. Eagles are favored by 6. The total sits at 47.5, according to our friends at Prairie Band Sportsbook in Mayetta. Before I get your pick, Spencer, the vibes, the feelings, the anxiety, if you will.
It's everything this week.
How are we feeling going into Sunday?
It's everything. It's up, it's down,
Let me rephrase it this way, even. Is it more excitement or more nerves?
It's both.
Dead even.
It's dead even because I haven't felt it.
Okay.
Like if they would have
been
like
a numbness.
Yes, because I haven't been alive to feel it. Like if I'd been alive, in the early 90s, it wouldn't feel as like both.
Sure.
But it's like super excited to get to see them play this late into January. Super excited for potentially Jaden Daniels to be the first rookie quarterback to play in a Super Bowl, but also nervous because it's the freaking Eagles and they have Saquon Barkley, which is a cheat code.
He's a stud. I think he's going to probably win Offensive Player of the Year, which probably should just always go to a non-quarterback at this point since QBs always end up winning MVP. He's awesome. That's the best offensive line remaining, I think. I mean, the Chiefs have a really good offensive line. I think the Lions were the best in all of football, but I would put the Eagles right there at number 2 in all likelihood. I'll give you the floor for this next question as well, because I've got my own view as well. What is the matchup, whether it's player to player, coach to coach, position group to position group, concept to concept, whatever it might be? What is the matchup that is going to decide this game?
Ooh, I think it's going to be the linebacker core being able to stop the run, come in and plug in the holes.
That's the Eagles run game, the Washington linebacker.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, Saquon Barkley is in... I'm trying to think of how to phrase this because, like, A.J. Brown is an elite wide receiver. He's one of the 5 best wide receivers in football right now, in my opinion. And I think Devontae Smith might be the best number 2 wide receiver in football. That's a really good core.
But they've disappeared.
Well, so exactly that, what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
I'm not a Jalen Hurts guy. I think Jalen Hurts is fine. I think we used to have the phrase the Dalton line for a long time, which was who is the worst quarterback that you could theoretically have as your starter that could lead you to a Super Bowl. And for a long time, that was Andy Dalton. And yes, the Bengals had other problems, Marvin Lewis chiefly among them. That Dalton was probably a little bit off the Dalton line himself, but that's what it was called. I think it's the Hurts line at this point.
Yeah.
Like the Eagles came within a possession of winning a Super Bowl just a couple years ago. So I'm not saying that he could never win the big one. And he was great in that game. One of the best losing performances I've ever seen, right there with Tom Brady in Super Bowl 52. But generally speaking, I'm not a Jalen Hurts fan. I think they have to run gimmicky stuff because he is too limited as a passer. He's not good against the blitz. I think Washington's going to send the house a lot in this game and just try to freeze him up and force him into making mistakes. So with that in mind, then, to the point you just made, Spencer, you can't use A.J. Brown as much and to his full capabilities. You can't use Devontae Smith or Dallas Goedert or any of these other pass catchers to their full abilities when you say, you know what? We're not going to play this game straight up. We're going to heat up Jalen Hurts as much as possible. And if he beats us with his legs, if he beats us because he has an uncharacteristic game throwing against the blitz, so be it. We know it's a weakness of his. We're going to attack it. If we can eliminate the explosive plays as well, put a lid on what Jalen Hurts can see down the field, that helps the opposing team a whole lot. That's the one thing Green Bay did really, really, really well in the wild card round. Didn't allow explosive plays. That kept the Packers in that game, even though they did not look good at all for pretty much the entire 60 minutes. The Rams did not do a good job of that. And the Eagles had 3 explosive touchdowns in that game. And that was the deciding factor in a matchup that was otherwise evened out by the weather. Yeah. So if I'm Washington, I'm with you. While those receivers are limited because of their limited quarterback, if the ball is just handed to Saquon Barkley, it's his show. You've got the blockers out in front, obviously, but it is Saquon's show. He doesn't have to worry about throwing it downfield, reading the right matchups. It's just go. So Saquon's got a more independent influence on the game, I think, than those really strong receivers do. So I think that's going to be important. I think the biggest factor in this game, the biggest matchup, is going to be the Commanders' interior line versus the defensive line of the Eagles. And the reason why Sam Cosmi tearing his ACL last week sucks. Like that, there's no other word around. He has become a really nice player. Didn't quite work out a tackle when he was drafted, but kicked inside. He's been a really good guard.
Yeah, I mean, for one of the few guys that's worked out from the Ron Rivera era.
It's been very solid, but he's out. So you're running What's it? Trent Scott? Is that the backup's name? Maybe he's fine. Maybe he comes out there and has a heroic performance.
Yeah.
I would not want to be.
I will say he did a heroic job in
Sure.
the divisional game.
The problem, of course, though, is Jalen Carter is playing better than any of the, Lions were out there running third stringers, right? And
the one problem with that,
he's a backup for a reason.
Yeah. But the big problem I think there is the right guard is the signaler. He's the guy that gets the shotgun snap get. Like he makes a move to go. And when you have a guy like Jalen Carter in front of you, that's a lot on your brain. Yes.
Yeah. No,
especially
that's
for a guy that hasn't started any games really.
No, that's a really good point. That there's more responsibility than just blocking, and the blocking itself is hard enough against Jalen Carter. Jaden Daniels is awesome. He's good as a scrambler. He's good on designed runs. He can throw against the blitz. I don't think Philly will blitz very much in this game, but if you're consistently getting Jalen Carter right up the middle, right in your face, I mean, it could be peak Tom Brady, peak Peyton Manning. No one is going to play comfortably with that.
Yeah.
So that, to me, is the number one matchup here. The spread is 6, according to Prairie Band. The total is 47.5. I'm going to go with the Cowards pick here. I'm going to say Commanders cover, but I don't know that I can pull the trigger on them winning. I think they cover 6, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're at least covering. I'm going to say they're going to win because I'm a fan. I'm being biased and I've never seen this, but
I respect it.
In all reality, they're at least covering this.
I think they will. I think this is going to be a really competitive game, and if they can force the Jalen Hurts mistake, I really do think that they can win this game. I'd put it at 55-45 kind of odds that the Eagles end up winning it. I will take the Eagles straight up. I will take the Commanders against the spread. Also have to consider Hurts' knee. If it's not 100% and that running ability is even worse.
Apparently, he might be wearing a brace.
I would not feel super comfortable if I was the Eagles and he was wearing a brace.
Yeah.
And as much as I'm criticizing Jalen Hurts here, he is also still better than Kenny Pickett or Tanner McKee. So I'm going to go with the Eagles. I think it'll be close. Give me the Eagles by a field goal. We've got Vance in the YouTube comments. He says he's got Commanders 27-21. Our guy Clayton on YouTube, he's on the Commanders as well.
I'm on the Commanders and the money.
All right, so you're putting an investment on this game.
Right as we speak.
All right, down payment on the house.
No.
First month's rent in the new apartment.
I wish I could do that. Sadly, it's a mere once. You can hold the amount I just bet in your hand.
Hey, we do not unit shame on this show. We do not unit shame. That game is coming up, 2:00 kickoff for the NFC Championship game. The Chiefs will follow. We will have coverage of both games via Westwood One coming up on Sunday here on 580 Sports Talk, as Dan was alluding to earlier on. We will not carry the Chiefs Network broadcast. That's an NFL rule. That is not our decision. But lucky you, we still get to listen to Kevin Harlan, and nobody is going to complain about getting to listen to Kevin Harlan.
Who's calling the Commanders game?
I actually don't know.
For Westwood.
I'm not sure who's on it for Westwood One, but I'm about to find out for you. If the internet will load for me momentarily here, is it Iron Eagle, Kurt Warner, and Ross Tucker?
Yeah, I knew it was Iron Eagle. Yeah, he was on. I heard him on DC Sports Talk the other day. Okay, yeah. That's a good crew.
I like Kurt Warner as an analyst. I think he does a good job.
Yeah, I like him better on a broadcast than I do on a desk.
That's fair. I like his he does some quarterback breakdown videos online. I like those a lot. I think Kurt Warner is really good at the media stuff. The only thing
remember
is
a few years ago the infamous silver jacket.
His puffy jacket. Yeah, he still gets ragged on for his puffy jacket. The only thing I disagree with is Kurt Warner hated playing outdoors. And I think outdoor football is the peak form of football. But Kurt obviously gets, a few bonus points considering he won a Super Bowl and an MVP as well. All right, let's get to some college basketball this weekend, shall we? Actually, hold on real quick. I'm sorry. I jumped the gun. I'm sorry. Prairie Band Sportsbook also has look-ahead lines for all 4 potential Super Bowl matchups. If the Commanders win, they are a 4.5-point dog against both the Bills and the Chiefs.
That's not bad.
It's not bad.
No, I mean, look, I've been having this debate all week with my friends and listening to debates about it. The Commanders 1 through 53 is not better than the Eagles 1 through 53, but their number 1 might be better than the Eagles number 1.
Without question.
In Jaden Daniels to Jalen Hurts.
No, I agree with that 1,000,000%. And the quarterback is the most heavily weighted position on the field. For what it's worth, the Eagles would be an underdog as well against either the Bills or Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 1.5. Bills would be favored by 1. So those are your preview lines. I think we are going to end up Eagles-Chiefs. I think it'll be a Super Bowl 57 rematch. I'd rather see the Commanders, though. This is more fun.
Yeah.
It's unique. I've also never seen them win a Super Bowl in my lifetime. Dan was a small child. I was also not alive, just like you. All right. I promised you college basketball. Let's get to college basketball. KU Houston. That is the big one coming up on Saturday. It is a 5:30 tip-off at Allen Fieldhouse. Weird time. It's the ESPN window. KU right now over at Prairie Band Sportsbook, favored by 1.5 points over the Houston Cougars. Emmanuel Sharp, I don't think, is going to play. He didn't practice today. He's wearing a boot, apparently. Kelvin Sampson said he is a true game-time decision. I am going to guess that Sharp does not play in this game. And I'd be thrilled if I'm KU and Emmanuel Sharp is not out there. This is going to be a dogfight. I mean, that 1.5 is the Allen Fieldhouse bump. That's what the difference maker is. Where would you put your confidence level? 1 to 10. 10 is KU is absolutely winning. 1 is KU is absolutely losing. Where would you put the confidence level for this game?
I'm going to go 7. I'll be in attendance.
Okay.
I'll be in attendance at Allen Fieldhouse tomorrow. And I think Bill Self, which I think he'll get to in a minute, he put out a challenge to the students. I think that's what he did today.
Mm-hmm.
I think he challenged them to show up tomorrow.
So let's, in fact, Spencer, can you pull this up for me? We're going to play this clip from Bill Self.
Where am I? Where are you?
We're on Studio Computer 2.
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Thank you. So this is from Bill Self today talking about student support, student hype, and student buzz for KU basketball this season. And for what it's worth, I would like to indicate to you, I agree with Coach Self. This is about a minute clip. Take a listen.
You know what? I don't feel the student hype the way that I used to. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think that from a camping out standpoint, when North Carolina was here to start the season, you got 150 camping groups and stuff. I hadn't even been down there today, so I don't even know what it is, but maybe it's out there and really high levels. But I haven't felt the student hype to the level that I've felt in some other years. And I know that other people have said the same thing. That's not being negative to the students, but I don't think there's been as much anticipation since the Carolina game for sure, even in some of our bigger games, but some of them have been over break too, that we felt before. So I'm hopeful that our energy level from a fan standpoint will be as good as it's been all year long tomorrow.
Is that a challenge? Is that just a commentary? It feels a little bit like a challenge.
I think it's a challenge. And I think it's, hey, our team is not the teams that you're used to seeing, but that's just the reality of how Big 12 works.
See, I don't even know if it's that. I mean, I think it's here's the problem. Okay. And athletic department, close your ears here. There's 1,000 less seats in the building now. And there are more seats that are going to non-students at this point. And look, I would love for this to be the loudest crowd of the year. And I think there's a really good chance this is the loudest crowd of the year. But between, reconfiguring of Allen Fieldhouse, which is good in the long run, I think there's also like a weird student and younger fan feeling toward this KU team for some reason. I see it on social media all the time. I think it's such a toxic place just in general. I don't know why the KU fan base in particular has gotten so toxic over the last 2 basketball seasons, but it really has. And it just makes the companionship of watching a game alongside social media so much less enjoyable at this point. I hope that there is a lot of optimism and a lot of positivity in the sense that this team is going to have a lot of loud support. I hope that there's a lot of that coming up tomorrow because this should be a great game. Because KU at its best can absolutely go and beat Houston in this matchup. I'm very hopeful. I am very excited for this game coming up tomorrow. I do think KU is going to win. I think it helps to be at Allen Fieldhouse. Emmanuel Sharp not being there, that's a challenge. Now, the advanced metrics love the Cougars. I'm looking at T-Rank from BartTorvik.com right now. Houston favored by 5.1 points, according to his metrics. Over at KenPom, I think Houston, I can double-check this right now. I can do the math to tell you what they would be favored by on a neutral court. Houston would be favored over KU by about 7 on a neutral court. So you take off a couple of points. So you're looking at, again, like a 4 or 5-ish point spread from KenPom favoring Houston in this one as well. I'm going to take KU to win. A lot of times Kansas in games like this at home, some doubters, the challenge from Bill Self to the fans. I think this is going to be a rowdy crowd. I think KU is going to be turned up for it. I'm going to take the Jayhawks. Give me a 1-point win, 62-61. Low scoring affair.
I'll take a 68-60.
Ooh,
win.
A sizable win.
Yeah.
Alt spread?
Yeah.
Ooh. You gonna put a few shekels on it?
Potentially.
KU -5. I would love. I wonder if I can find odds on if you took an alternate spread in this game. I am not going to do that for what it's worth, but I do think KU's got enough juice that it should be able to come away with a victory. Prairie Band's not offering it at the moment. May have it before the game actually starts, but I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. K-State is favored against West Virginia. Fair or foul that K-State is favored at home against WVU?
I don't know. WVU's so up and down. They don't have their best player. They win a game against a ranked team, get into the top 25, lose, get out of the top 20. It's happened 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
2 weeks in a row where they beat a ranked team, got into the top 25, lost the next game, dropped out to 20, above 30.
Mm-hmm.
And then the same thing happened 2 weeks in a row.
Again, this is a matchup that the metrics absolutely love West Virginia in this game. KenPom's got West Virginia somewhere in the neighborhood of a 7-point favorite. T-Rank has West Virginia as a 5.3-point favorite over K-State and expecting a low-scoring game as well. I would never make K-State a favorite at this point, to be completely honest with you. That's not a criticism specifically of the game from the other night. Like, you lost by 8 and VJ Edgecombe went for 30. That doesn't happen all that often. And we knew this K-State team, even when we were super hyped about the talent that they had coming into the year, we knew they didn't have a VJ Edgecombe type of talent. Oh my gosh, very Friday kind of vibe from my mouth right now. I would never make K-State a favorite at this point, and I can't make them a favorite in this game. You're right. I mean, not having Tucker DeVries is tough for West Virginia, but they're ranked for a reason, and K-State is near the basement of the Big 12 for a reason.
It wouldn't surprise me if K-State finds a way to win this game because they're at home.
That's true. I will say that I would be surprised, but I would not be shocked. I don't think it would be a complete kind of thing. Commercial break. When we come back, we'll find our weekly winner for What Is Wrong With You. We've also got some 580 Sports Talk headlines to get to before we send things off to the TIT. That's coming up right after this on 580 Sports Talk. Before we get to today's What Is Wrong With You stories, really quickly, the pulse of the K-State fan base, faint at this point. Bill on the YouTube feed, again, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube is where you can find us. Bill chimes in, another loss awaits KSU. I agree, Bill. I hate to see our fan bases locally be in such a downtrodden place. I remember it well. I lived through the KU football decade of disaster. I lived through it. But yeah, you never want to be in a spot where we're not even to February yet and everything feels that bleak. So, Bill, I definitely sympathize with you and many a K-State fan. All right, Spencer, it's What Is Wrong With You time. Let's find our weekly champion. Our two stories for today are trying to take down Gas Person, literally a man's name. A Florida man, Charles Gasperson, maybe Gasperson, is facing numerous charges related to burglary and drug possession. He was robbing a gas station, and his name is Gasperson. Incredible nominative determination. I need to stop stumbling over these words. Good Lord. I'm giving a speech tonight. Well, a speech. That's a stretch. I'm the MC for the Washburn football banquet tonight.
Oh.
So I'm really not feeling great about stumbling over about 800 words during the show today, knowing I'm going to be giving a public speaking engagement later.
This is just where you're going to stumble.
Yeah, burn it all up now.
Yeah, you're burning up all the stumbles right now on the show.
This is like when I played basketball and I was always bad during shoot around and warm up, but then would take off during the game. Maybe I'd make a shot during the game after missing all of them during practice. All right, Spencer, you're up first today. What you got?
All right, we're going back to the great state of Florida. A man led Florida Highway Patrol troopers on a high-speed chase on I-75 before he allegedly got caught with drugs in the car. Troopers helped Sarasota County Sheriff's deputies with an active pursuit of Derrick Jerome Trutling, 30, who was driving recklessly just before midnight on Wednesday on southbound I-75, according to the news release. Trutling was driving a 2016 BMW. He tried to exit on the Laurel Road when he collided with a curbed median, causing the car to come to a stop. Troopers arrested him and charged him with driving on a suspended license, fleeing and eluding, possession of cocaine, possession of marijuana, and he had a felony warrant out already, according to officials. Pictures from the incident show Ziploc baggies with marijuana, multiple baggies of weed candy such as Stoner Patch and weed Oreos.
Stoner Patch Kids.
Yes.
Weed Oreo sounds kind of wild.
Yeah.
The bags are labeled, is that Top Chef? Yes, the Florida Highway Patrol put out a picture of all the various different weed candies and weed snacks that he had. And yeah, one of these bags says Top Chef on it. All right, my story for today, you'll never believe it, but we are going to Florida. Unfortunately, I'm going to need to... All right, it came up. Our prison Wi-Fi at the radio station was slowing down my computer, but don't worry, I'm finally on here. All right, we are going down to the state of Florida, the Boca Lago Country Club, where two girls at a wedding recently cut in front of Mark Rohr in line for the carving station, the steak station at the buffet at a wedding back on January 18th. And Mr. Rohr was not happy about this. In fact, he flew into a rage. The 52-year-old man confronted the guy who let his daughter and another young girl cut in the line and stand with him, and chaos ensued, according to the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. According to the police report, quote, the slimmer man ignored the man yelling at him and did not respond. Then, without provocation, the large bald man, you didn't have to do him like that. The large bald man struck the slimmer man on the head with a dinner plate. From there on, a melee began between a large number of the wedding guests. An employee at the country club told police that Rohr walked up to the man, hit him on the head with a dinner plate after he ignored him. She confirmed that the plate shattered and that Rohr pushed the victim and was then holding him by the collar.
Jeez.
During a police interview, Rohr confirmed he was upset that he was cut in line by the two little girls, and he got into an argument before pushing the victim. However, he denied that he hit the man on the head with the plate. He also said it was a dry party. There was no alcohol being served, and he said he didn't have any either. So two teenager or younger girls stood by their dad in line in the buffet at a wedding. And this guy, 52 years old enough to know better, was so mad about it, he hit a man over the head with a plate and incited a brawl over meat.
Oh, God.
All right, who we got for today?
I don't know. I think yours wins today.
I'm going with this one for today.
I don't think it beats Gas Person.
See, I'm going to vote for the wedding melee here. Dog, there's enough for you. It's 2 more people. There will be steak for you. You do not need to smash a dinner plate over a man's head because of the line at a wedding buffet. All right, so we're going to have to go to the text line and the YouTube. 785-272-9429. That is our text line number. You can also vote in the YouTube right now. We're going to give you 30 seconds because we got to get to a commercial break here. 30 seconds to vote. Either say wedding, brawl, meat, whatever, or weed. Weed is the title, or gas person, not
gas
weed.
Person.
We already voted off the first story today. So we're going to go with what Jeffrey on YouTube is calling Lego My Steako. That's pretty fun. Yeah, we're evened up now. We'll go about 15 more seconds, so get your votes in here in the last minute. We will let the listeners decide who is going to win today in What Is Wrong With You as the final seconds tick off the clock. We're going to go with the reigning champion, Spencer. We're going to go with Gas Person. It retains. It holds on. Nominative determination is our today and for the week in What Is Wrong With You. Gas Person robbing gas stations. It is perfect. It is the perfect last name. We owe you a timeout, and when we come back, we'll get to some 580 Sports Talk headlines, including the newest head coach in the AFC West. That's up next on 580 Sports Talk. .441 on 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Over there, that's Spencer Dupuis. Thank you so much for joining us today for the program. Of course, we've got Chiefs football coming up on Sunday here on 580 WIBW. 5:30 kickoff on Westwood 1. Kevin Harlan on the call as the Chiefs take on the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship game. We will have pregame and postgame following Westwood 1's coverage and before Westwood 1's coverage from the Chiefs radio network with Mitch Holthus, Art Haynes, and the gang. We just can't carry the game itself due to NFL rules, but we will have as much coverage as we can get to you coming up on Sunday. tomorrow, we've got Kansas State basketball on our airwaves. Cats versus West Virginia. I didn't actually see what time this game starts, so my apologies.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock start time. Okay, so you barely even have to change your schedule day to day. 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, K-State hosting West Virginia. 4 o'clock pregame start time. Stan and Wyatt on the call on the K-State Sports Network here on 580 WIBW.
I believe you get to listen to K-State women first tomorrow.
Oh, they're both on tomorrow.
Yeah, women at Colorado, 1:30.
Oh, beautiful.
Pregame time, 2 p.m. is the tip-off.
That's tremendous.
And then it'll take you right into the men's game.
Sweet. All right. Love to hear it. All right. So that's what's coming up this weekend. We've got some Washburn basketball tomorrow as well over on our sister station, Country 106.9. 1:15 pregame, 1:30 game 1 tip, 3:30 game 2 tip. It'll be Washburn at Missouri Western State out in St. Joe. Yours truly will be on the call. Again, all that action plus pre and post can be heard over on Country 106.9. Ichabod men, 18-0 on the year. Their best start ever was 19-0 33 years ago, trying to match that mark coming up tomorrow. All right, before we get there, though, Spencer, and before we get to the Topeka Invitational Tournament, let's not forget we've got high school basketball tournament action coming up tonight with Dan Lucero and the coach Larry Latimer on the call from the dungeon for the TIT. Let's get to a handful of 580 Sports Talk headlines. The biggest one from the sports world today. Pete Carroll is the new head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. 73 years old. During this upcoming season, he will break Romeo Crennel's record for the oldest head coach in NFL history. It's a 3-year deal for Pete Carroll with a 4th-year team option to make him the team's head coach. Dan compiled these stats earlier for us. The AFC West head coaches now, a college national championship winner, 2 one-time Super Bowl winners, and a 3-time Super Bowl winner. These coaches have a combined 668 career regular season wins, 52 playoff wins, 20 conference championship appearances, 9 conference championship wins, 5 Super Bowl championships, and their average age is 65 years old. That last part is a funny note, but this is the most, historically speaking, well-coached division probably that the NFL has ever seen. Like, Jim Harbaugh is the least accomplished of the group, and he is 1 year removed from a college football national championship.
Yeah.
It's an incredible group. I think this is a pretty good hire for the Raiders, all things considered. I know you can't really plan for the long term, considering he's 73, not too far from 74 years old. He's got the energy of a 50-something.
I think I have a hypothetical here.
Sure.
He finds somebody, whether that be an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, or a linebackers coach or something, as like Bill did with Gerard Mayo, where they have somebody who's going to be working under him to eventually take over when he retires. He's just there to change the culture and turn them into a winning team.
I think you are onto something with that. The only addendum I would add is I don't think that's going to be like part of his plan this offseason.
No,
like if it goes well, you might get another contract. Like he's 76, healthy, and they're playing pretty well. I would not be surprised at all if he ends up getting another short-term contract after this one. But I do think eventually you're right, because you can't rely on a guy who's already the oldest coach in league history to be around for the long haul. Yeah. I was going to say, though, to make a comparison, Matt Eberflus, the recently fired head coach of the Chicago Bears, 54 years old. Pete Carroll has 5 times the energy that Matt Eberflus, 20 years older. I don't think the energy or anything like that really is going to matter. I think it's a great culture move for the Raiders. I think he is a very good coach. I think that there are, he's not perfect. No coach is. I think there are some things that come with the Pete Carroll experience that might not be perfect, but it's better than Antonio Pierce, better than Rich Bisaccia, better than Josh McDaniels, better than John Gruden, better. Who else do you want to throw out there? What other Raiders coaches should we get to? Better than Jack Del Rio?
Del Rio.
Or was he just a coordinator?
No, I think he was their head coach.
They've had so many bad coaches. Bringing in a guy with a championship who players really respect and respond to, I think it's a great move for the Raiders. This division looks like it's going to be a meat grinder. in the West, but we said that also with the quarterbacks last year. That was our big talking point going into the 2023 season. Wow, look at Justin Herbert. Maybe it was even the 22 season at this point, because it was Justin Herbert, it was Russell Wilson, it was Derrick Carr, it was the GOAT Patrick Mahomes, and then it turned out Russell Wilson's not really good anymore. Derrick Carr never improved after he got hurt in 2016. Justin Herbert's good, but it's never won anything. So it's still kind of the Mahomes show. I think it's different with coaches, and I don't think Carroll was bad by any means at the end of his time in Seattle. It just, things run their course. It happens. Same with Mike McCarthy in Green Bay. Like, sometimes they run their course. And I think this is a good hire for the Raiders. I think it's smart. He's got to get a good offensive coordinator, though. You can't go back and hire Darrell Bevel. You can't go and, Brian Schottenheimer might get the Cowboy job, but in case he doesn't get their head job, you can't just rehire him as your OC in Vegas. You got to do something new, a little more inventive if you're Carroll. That's the thing I think they really need to hit home here. All right. We've got another official piece of head coaching news. I will let you take this one, though, because you had to update us about 80 times yesterday in the 5 o'clock hour about Liam Cohen.
Yeah, so I was just, taking a gander at the cesspool that is X for any news before I, ended headlines last night, because there wasn't too many headlines. And then I just saw like 30 different NFL people talking about Liam Cohen. And the fact that he was not talking to the Bucs yesterday at all, he hadn't signed the contract yet, and that he was apparently in Jacksonville, and it went on for hours. But Liam Cohen is now the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, which I wonder has something to do with, did he say to them, hey, I'm not taking this job unless Balky's out. I'm out. And then left. And then the Bucs said, we got an offer on the table for you to be the highest paid coordinator in the league. And he's like, all right, cool. And then the next day, Balky gets fired, and then they reach out again, Sean Khan or whatever his name is.
Sean Khan, yeah.
He reached out again and says, hey, do you want to talk again?
I think so. We had heard and this whole process has been a mess from the Jags. We heard originally that the Jaguars were willing to keep Balky, hire a coach, and if the coach wanted Balky gone, they would fire him, which is an insane thing to think, let alone to say out loud. Then they wanted Liam Cohen. Cohen says no, gets this big offer from the Bucs. They end up firing Balky because you're right. Cohen probably said, I don't want to work with this chump. And then, I'm interested again. There's some reporting out there today. I think Jonathan Jones of CBS might have had this. Someone else had it as well. Albert Breer. It was Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated. The Jaguars and Liam Cohen had to act essentially under the cover of night. The Bucs told Cohen when they said, hey, we've got this contract for you. We're going to make you the highest paid coordinator in the NFL. It's contingent, though, on you not taking a second interview with the Jags. You have to agree you're done with the Jags job. You take our contract, 3 years, highest paid coordinator contract in the league. I think it would have been $5 million a year, $15 million total. So Cohen ghosted the Bucs. He never said a word to them yesterday while he was secretly re-interviewing with the Jaguars. So in case the Jags job fell through, he could go back to the Bucs and say, yo, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I didn't interview. Why didn't I pick up my phone for 12 hours? Doesn't matter. I did not interview there. You have no proof. The other part of this, though, even crazier, also, I believe, from Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, the Jaguars had to interview another minority coaching candidate. They'd only interviewed one. They'd only interviewed Robert Saleh. So they had to interview Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator of the Raiders. Or is he with the Giants now? Either way, they had to interview him. He was scheduled to interview yesterday while they were doing their secret interview with Cohen. So they had to make sure they kept the Cohen thing a secret, because if they brought in Patrick Graham and he knew it was a sham, he wouldn't have taken the interview.
Yeah.
And they would have been able to make the hire.
Yeah. I mean, Adam Schefter posted today, as one person said about the 2-day saga that saw the Jaguars lose their GM, the Bucs lose their OC, and Cohen accept 2 jobs, one that made him the NFL's highest paid coordinator and another to become Jacksonville's head coach. Quote, I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It is truly, truly ridiculous. But the Jags have their coach, and I think they got a good one. And more importantly than anything, they got rid of Trent Baalke, which was the most important part of the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Trent Baalke is just absolutely terrible at his job and always has been.
Yeah.
All right, another headline for us today. One other note from the coaching world. I'll give you the K-State headline here in just a moment. But one other piece of news from the coaching world. The Houston Texans fired their offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick, today.
Odd timing.
Yeah. So they also fired their offensive line coach and assistant offensive line coach. They said this line sucks. We need to fix it. That was, yes, absolutely, no doubt the correct move. But Bobby Slowick getting fired today is odd. Why not just fire him on Monday?
Yeah.
After, or hell, even on Sunday. Because they played on Saturday against the Chiefs, lost, had C.J. Stroud eat 8 sacks over the course of the game. Why not just fire the guy right afterward? Why'd you wait a week with more guys shuffling around the league? They made the right call to get rid of their offensive line coaches, but I don't necessarily think it was a bad move to get rid of Slowick. He clearly was not ready for a play calling position. Maybe he could still be a good position coach, not in the right place to be a play caller and game plan designer. I just don't know why they waited. I don't understand the point of that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Very, very strange. But the Texans now have an opening for offensive coordinator, as do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, among other teams.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to one final headline here, Spencer.
Yeah, Kansas State head basketball coach Jerome Tang announced the addition of Tyreek Smith, a midseason transfer. He's been at Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, and Memphis. He will not play this season. However, he is eligible to practice and travel with the team. He will seek a waiver to play his final season of eligibility at K-State in 25-26. He used an extra. He played during the 2020-21 season, thus receiving the extra year of eligibility due to the COVID-19 pandemic. He is 6'8", 225-pound wing.
So I think this is strange. I'm just going to say right now, I think this is a very odd move, all things considered. So Tyreek Smith he's been very, very, very well traveled at this point, and I just don't know. Is this the kind of player you want to add if you're K-State? Like, when you look at this roster this year and you just see mercenaries. Coleman Hawkins is a mercenary. Doug McDaniel is a mercenary. Do you really want to add another guy who's bounced around to 100 different teams at this point? And he's not even going to play this year? He might not play again. There's no guarantee he'll get a waiver.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. There's a guy that had the similar situation. Was at West Virginia a couple years ago. Came from a New York
Yes.
school.
Yes, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. Same thing happened to him.
Had
Never
a
played.
Hispanic name. Yeah. I can't pull his name, but I know exactly who you're talking about. Came from Manhattan.
Yes, man. Yeah.
What the heck was his name? We'll look it up. We've got to get to a break. Coming up next, we'll get to a final word. Then we'll send you off to Dan Lucero and the coach Larry Latimer for the TIT. That's coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up the day, wrapping up the week on 580 Sports Talk before we head out to the TIT. Spencer, a quick final word.
I'm super excited for this weekend. Excited to see my Commanders with a shot to play in the Super Bowl. And even if they don't, they played with house money down the stretch. Excited for what's going forward. And potentially a Chiefs-Commanders Super Bowl matchup, which would be wild for me. I don't know how I'd be able to go through that game.
I wish your boys the best of luck. No matter what happens, I wish them the best of luck this weekend. Final word for me, I just don't know how you can pick against the Chiefs in this spot. I know the Bills' offense is playing really well. I know Josh Allen had an MVP caliber season, but it's the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game against the team they have dominated in the postseason over the last part of the Mahomes era. I get that the Bills are good, but this is a spot the Chiefs have owned. I'm going with Kansas City in a close one coming up on Sunday, a game you can catch right here at 5:30 Sunday on 580 WIBW. We've got a K-State basketball quasi doubleheader tomorrow, women in the early afternoon, men late afternoon, and of course the TIT is coming up tonight right at the top of the hour after the news. For Spencer Dupuis and the Commanders, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Dan and the coach are up next at the TIT on 580 WIBW.